In the heart of the war-torn realm, an outpost has fallen silent. No dispatches have been received for several days, and a sense of dread hangs heavily in the air. Pontifex Zenestra was due to pass nearby with a cavalier escort, but upon hearing of the outpost's silence, the column's commanding officer, Marshal Corvastor Falsewater of Misthaven, has been ordered to alter their course and investigate. With swords unsheathed and hearts filled with determination, the Marshal and his cavaliers approach the outpost, ready to confront the unknown and face whatever darkness lies ahead. As they reach the ruins of the fort, the Marshal signals for his troops to halt. The silence is deafening, broken only by the creaking of an abandoned gate and the distant howl of a wolf.
"Spread out and search the ruins. Be vigilant. We know not what dangers lurk within these walls."
Marshal Falsewater and his men venture deeper into the ruins, their senses heightened and their weapons at the ready. The silence is oppressive, and the air is thick with anticipation as they search for answers.
"Sir, there's no sign of the garrison, but we found these holes in the ground. They've got some weird light coming from inside."
"Aye, and the water supply is full. Something unclean was here. General, we should look at our weapons."
Suddenly, an eerie sound fills the air, followed by a bright green blast of energy punching through the air above their heads and blowing a great crater in the ground. A Skaven host pours from the ruins, their chittering and squealing filling the air with chaos and confusion.
"Skaven, to arms, men! We are ambushed!"
As the Skaven swarm all around, a dark black shadow emerges, casting a pall upon the battlefield and adding to the sense of panic.
"Foolish men things! They will pay for this intrusion! Speak! You'll stand an elfers!"
Monstrosities of mechanical and biological engineering lurch from the shadows, and hordes of rats scurry from the northwards. The pealing of discordant bells fills the air, driving the rats into an ever more frenzied state, while clouds of noxious green smoke begin to waft towards the human line. Warp bullets explode amongst the human soldiers with deadly effect as the larger lightning cannons ready their next murderous salvo. Despite the overwhelming odds, the Marshal rallies its troops, his voice echoing above the chaos and carnage.
"Hold fast, lads! We stand united against this verminous horde! For the God King, for Sigmar!"
The Wilder Riders activate their pre-game move. The battle tactic is magical dominance. The Free Guild Marshal and the Gracier fail heroic leadership. The Free Guild Marshal conducts a rousing speech. The Warforger spends the power of the runic crucible. Zenestra prays for hallowed ground. The Battle Mage casts Mystic Shield on Cavaliers. The Steelhelms and the Fusiliers activate Shadowed Approach. The Free Guild Marshal activates all-out attack on the Fusiliers, while the Clan Rats activate all-out defense. The Fusiliers deal 14 damage to the Clan Rats. The Deceiver activates Inspiring Presence on the Clan Rats. The Clan Rats return 3 models. The cities of Sigmar score 4 victory points. The battle tactic is the magical dominance. The screaming bell tolls and results in an unholy clamor. Both the Deceiver and the Marshal fail to perform heroic leadership. The Deceiver casts Dread's Skitty Leap. The Deceiver casts Warp Lightning Vortex. The Vortex deals 1 damage to the Cavaliers, 4 damage to the Steelhelms, and 1 damage to the Wilder Corps. The Plague Priest fails to pray for Rabid Rabbit and takes 1 damage. The Plague Priest prays for filth on the censer bearers and activates the Never Plague. The Gracier casts Death Frenzy on the censer bearers. The Gracier fails to cast Hoarfrost. The Engineer casts Mystic Shield on the censer bearers. The Rattling Gun teleports using the Norhole. The Deceiver teleports using the Norhole. The Vortex deals 3 damage to the Steel Helms, 1 damage to the Wilder Corpse, and 1 damage to the Fusiliers. Both Warp Lightning Cannons deal 5 damage to the Wilder Corpse. Then Censer Bearers activate Forward to Victory. The Wilder Corpse activate Inspiring Presence. The Steel Helms flee to Battleshock. Skaven score 4 victory points. The battle tactic is bring full arms to bear. The Warforger expands the Runic Crucible. The Marshal has heroic leadership, while the Vermin Lord fails it. The Marshal has its relic envoy attend the Cavaliers. Zenestra dispels the vortex, then fails to pray. The Battle Mage fails to cast Fast Protection. The Command Corps bring back 1 Fusilier and heals the Cavaliers. Two units of Cavaliers and the Fusiliers use the Shadowed approach. The Censer Bearers activate Redeploy. The Wilder Corps deal 1 damage to the clan rats, which become suppressed. The Marshal activates all-out attack on the Fusiliers, and the clan rats activate all-out defense. The Fusiliers wipe out the Censer Bearers and deal 2 damage to the clan rats. The Screaming Bell activates Unleash Hell, and the Rattling Gun powers up, explodes, and deals no damage to the Cavaliers. The Marshal activates Forward to Victory. The Cavaliers activate all-out attack. The Cavaliers finish off the Warp Lightning Cannon and deal 3 damage to the clan rats. The clan rats deal 1 damage to the Cavaliers. The Cavaliers deal 12 damage to the clan rats. The Plague Priest deals no damage to the Cavaliers. The other Cavaliers finish off the clan rats. The other clan rats deal no damage to the Cavaliers. The Command Corps stop inspiring presence on the clan rats, which flee. Cities score 5 victory points. The battle tactic is led into the Maelstrom. The Deceiver fails heroic leadership, but the Marshal gets it. The Screaming Bell tolls and produces deafening peals. The Plague Priest prays for filth on the Censer Bearers. The other Plague Priest prays for Rabid Rabbit on the Censer Bearers and activates Bubonic Blight Plague, dealing 9 damage to the Cavaliers. The Engineer casts Arcane Bolt and finishes off the Cavaliers. The Deceiver casts Flaming Weapon. Then the Deceiver casts dreaded Skitterleap, but it is unbound. The Gracier casts Skitterleap on the other Gracier. That Gracier casts the Vortex. The Vortex deals 2 damage to the Marshal and 6 damage to the Fusiliers. The Gracier casts Mystic Shield on the Deceiver. The Cavaliers activate Redeploy. The Vortex deals 1 damage to the Cavaliers, 3 damage to the Marshal, and 2 to the other Marshal. The Warp Lightning Cannon powers up, takes 2 damage, but finishes off the Cavaliers. The Deceiver finishes off the Wilder Corpse. The Deceiver activates Stomp, dealing 1 damage to the Steel Helms. The Censer Bearers activate All-Out Attack and finish off the Cavaliers. The Steel Helms deal 3 damage to the Deceiver. Then the Deceiver finishes off the Steel Helms. The Fusiliers activate Inspiring Presence. The Skaven score 2 victory points. The battle tactic is Black Powder Bombardment. The Fusiliers activate Rally, but fail to return any models. Both the Marshal and the Deceiver activate Heroic Recovery, healing 3 wounds. Zenestra fails to dispel the Vortex. The Warforger fails to cast Merciless Blizzard. The Battle Mage casts Pall of Doom on the Deceiver. Zenestra prays for Cast Out Evil, dealing 1 damage to the Deceiver, 1 to the Gracier, 3 to the Plague Priest and 3 to the Engineer. The Command Corps heal 1 wound on the Marshal and bring back 2 Fusiliers. The Marshal sends out his Relic Envoy on the other Marshal. The 2 Marshals and the Command Corps use the Shadowed Approach.
The Plague Priest activates redeploy. The Marshal deals 2 damage to the Plague Priest, finishing him off. The Marshal activates all-out attack on the Fusiliers, but the Screaming Bell stops it. The Gracier activates all-out defense, but the Command Corps stops it. The Fusiliers finish off the Engineer and the Gracier. The Gracier activates Unleash Hell on the Warp Lightning Cannon that deals 1 damage to the Marshal. The Deceiver stomps Zenestra, dealing 1 damage. Zenestra activates the Wrath of Azir and deals 2 damage to the Deceiver. The Deceiver then activates Shadow Magnet Trinket and finishes off Zenestra. The Gracier activates all-out defense on the cannon. The Marshal finishes off the cannon. The Gracier deals 1 damage to the Marshal. Cities score 5 victory points. The battle tactic is flee, flee. The Screaming Bell tolls and sounds an apocalyptic doom, dealing 3 damage to the Marshal. The Screaming Bell and the Marshal activate Finest Hour. The Plague Priest prays for Rabbit, Rabbit and Crimson Wheel Curse manifests, dealing 1 damage to the Marshal. The Gracier then casts Arcane Bolt and finishes off the Marshal. The Deceiver casts Flaming Weapon, but it is unbound. The Deceiver casts dreaded Skitterleap. The Gracier casts Death Frenzy on the Censer Bearers. The Command Corps redeploy. The Censer Bearers activate Forward to Victory. But the Command Corps stop it. Skaven score 3 victory points. The battle tactic is Raise the Banner. The Marshal does Heroic Recovery, healing 2 wounds, while the Gracier fails to do Heroic Leadership. The Gracier fails to dispel the Vortex. The Warforger casts Merciless Blizzard and finishes off the Deceiver. The Battle Mage fails to cast Pall of Doom on the Gracier. Command Corps heal 1 wound on the Marshal and bring back 1 Fusilier. The Fusiliers activate all-out attack and finish off the Censer Bearers.